Yeah. So we gotta relate this to the Moorish history, man. So at what point did you come into contact with the Moorish history?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of understanding, mm,
You drinking that water, boy?
in
That's
terms of
H2O.
understanding Moors and their presence, I think what's interesting to note is that since we're talking about the Eastern Hemisphere, one thing that I always have heard from the elders is that, and it's ironic because I only saw articles about it in what we would call traditional white media, stuff
Mm.
that's not geared specifically towards the black community. But I just started hearing it there about how Europe, for thousands of years, was not a purely European and a white European. That's what they meant? Society. And that's something that people need to understand, that there was always a presence of Northern Africa there, because that was the breadbasket of every empire. It was the breadbasket of Rome, of Egypt, um, and of the entire regions that then replaced Byzantium, Carthage. So when I first started looking at that history, and then of course reading about Masonry and that understanding the difference between a Freemason and a slave Mason, understanding a social hierarchy that exists, and then dealing with the conspiracy factors, that you don't need a conspiracy when you discuss Masonry and when you discuss secret societies, because right now there are people that work for McDonald's that won't give you the secret ingredient to what they put in your food. You know what I mean? There are
Wow.
people that work in a multinational corporation that don't have to reveal the specific secrets that they have. And the transparency is not to protect you, the customer, it's to protect them, the corporation. So I think that for me, it began on a very historical level. And then as more people began to talk to me about the past of the Western Hemisphere, then I realized the impact and the global impact of Moorish culture as it affects a pre-Columbian society. You know, as we're talking about African presence in the Western Hemisphere before the so-called Age of Columbus, when we just uh, inter-Atlantic trade and those natural routes that exist in the ocean for people to travel from West Africa to Latin America, or what's presently known as Latin America. So all of this history, brother, fascinated me. So to answer your question, it was really the historical aspect that I've always been very interested in. And it takes me back to a quote by Malcolm: as long as you be convinced you never did anything, brother, you can never do anything.